Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with a new world champion, the Terran from Team Liquid in the blue. It's Clem, but up against his greatest rival yet again, the mysterious MaxPax's, in another best of 5 Terran versus Protoss Grand Finals, where Clem's top-tier cheeses will go up against MaxPax's legendary lactose intolerance. And whether you're a big fan of cheese or just cheesy segues, it'd be awesome if you could smash that like button, and maybe even subscribe. And Jimmy, what are we at? No cringing. 1,441 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. Thank you for watching though, but hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. Amphion, no Reapers allowed, would be a great slogan for any Protoss political campaign, but the best we can do is build a pylon wall to keep the Reapers out, at least from one of the many entrances to the base. But those early Reapers from Clem, notorious in the damage they can inflict, so notorious that players have entire builds against them, even when they don't exist, as Clem has completely skipped the Reaper in order to get a Marine, as well as a much quicker factory, and potentially throw MaxPax's off his game. We've gone almost full circle. Well, at least MaxPax's. MaxPax's came onto the scene with his one-gate proxy cheese, and now has become probably the strongest macro Protoss, if not strongest Protoss, in the entire world. Whereas Clem, his major efforts almost entirely revolve around getting the damage done, ideally even before Warp Gate really kicks in. And yet again, he's got the Cyclone on the way. Just a small selection of early Terran mercenary units can be potentially critical damage before those gateways come online, because Protoss units can't heal, they can't get repaired, and there's only so many of them. If you lose any early, especially without a trade, that can spiral out of control dizzyingly fast. A blink is on the way. Gateway's finishing up. Warp Gate closing in. Is it going to be a medevac first out of Clem? Indeed. Which, don't try this at home. Like, what, playing StarCraft 2? I haven't done that in years. I'm just here for the comments. Well, I can subscribe, but also, the medevac early, I can attest from personal experience, looks so great when Clem uses it. Most of the time. If he loses the Cyclone, obviously, it's not going to be a good one. Oh my, really edging there with the Cyclone. Not quite able to pick off the Stalker, but the Marines are just kind of casually moving forward. MaxPax's will end up taking out some of the Marines, but he takes damage on one of his Adepts. Another, the Stalker itself, badly bruised. Chrono boosting out Blink. The Cyclone and a couple Marines dragged into the medevac and heading across. I'm sure MaxPax's is aware this is a probability. He's chasing down Marines out on the field, though, and the Cyclones are in the middle of the main. Well, 2 Marines and a Cyclone is still a potentially deadly option. Another Cyclone dodges out of the way as the probes try to execute a citizen's arrest. But again, Clem slips away. The medevac's healing the Marines, helping the Cyclone dodge. Another Cyclone getting chased down by Blink Stalkers in the middle of the map. 5 probes are dead. Medevac's still going. Another Marine just wandering across. Will distract one of the Stalkers. Going for the medevac itself in order to try to prevent the Cyclone from dodging away. Eats a few extra shots. 1 Stalker taken down. Trying to get another. Already used the Blink. 2 Stalkers down. More Stalkers at the front. War Prism dodging back. Bunker not quite done yet, but the Cyclone should be enough to help Clem stabilize. And when all the smoke clears and the units lost are tabulated, 62 to 52 supply with Clem. 5 workers ahead. He's got a siege tank. He's got his production on the way. And these Stalkers are not even going to make much of a dent in the bunker. Clem, despite kind of, it seemed it's a calculated flail. He doesn't know exactly where and when he's going to get damage done, but he's just putting it out there in the universe and hoping for the best. And he has the skill to back that up, as Clem has ground out quite a lead, but a single Zealot, in order to tank that siege tank damage, eats a volley, slaps down a turret behind the bunker. The SCVs are not pulled, the bunker is broken, but a second siege tank is on the way. So MaxPax's has made some initial progress, but I fear it's only superficial damage so far. Another volley takes out another bunker with no cancel, but Clem, relentless. Those SCVs, all right. Woo, overtime. Billy, stop. Well, he stopped. Another bunker, and the siege tanks. 2 pixels out of range, but that's 2 pixels too many. Warping in more stalkers is MaxPax, as unwilling to give up this position. He's getting a 3rd Nexus behind, but he's still in a kind of a tough position economically. 43 probes to 48, picks off 1 tank, but not everyone can fit in the prism. At least not all at once. A Raven trying to zone out, slaps down an auto turret and says, stay out for the next 10 seconds or so. But then after that, we'll see what happens. And, the aggressive, well, for these two, a very normal start, but a hectic early game. But it is Clem's job to hold and minimize damage, while MaxPax has invested so much. If he ends up losing the War Prism, let alone the Stalkers, that is certainly... Oh my, he gets the Raven! And MaxPax just smoothly juggling out, though, the Siege Tank again! Just a few pixels away. The War Prism taking critical damage. Now 1 shot away with the Vikings. But MaxPax finds a little bit more, and I think that trade actually ended up favoring him. Yeah, Clem has lost a few more minerals, similar gas. And most importantly, MaxPax has gotten his 3rd base up. He killed the Raven, which usually a strong utility tool to at least back up the push. He dropped the Viking. He still has the War Prism, as tenuous as that is. So, Clem, though, has the triple threat coming together. The supply still favors him. He's been sitting on a decent amount of SCVs in order to support his 2-base production. MaxPax is only now adding on those gateways. He's only now adding on that Templar archives. So Clem is peaking right now at the moment. 1 out of his base and 2 in terms of upgrades. Whereas MaxPax, until he gets that Templar archives online, which is almost certainly going to be for Archons, I don't think he has the space to get to Storm, though he may need to find it. And here comes the bio push. The boys are pulled to the 3rd base, where they will mine comfortably. Zealots dropped out. Charge not quite done yet. And he recalls immediately and gets home just in time. A good decisive recall there. Loses a couple stalkers on the field as Clem battles his way across. Chrono boosting the non-existent Storm. Optimism is important, but Vespene gas is even more important. He's faking himself out with it. But Clem is now up 30 supply. A few SCVs dead does not translate into an army that can stop this tank push from smashing its way across the map. Storm is only a quarter of the way done. +1 ground weapons is still far off. Clem's army supply 89 to 52. MaxPax has been dancing around the problem this whole time, but now Clem is tearing through. The Templar are desperate. That War Prism is also Viking side-eye away from death. He pulled a probe into the prism. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but why? Is he going to use a probe to try to draw fire? Or just for dramatic effect? But the charge lots are closing in. None of these upgrades are done. The Bio-Army's cutting back. The Archon's helping out, but the Siege Tanks are still shelling. And the Zealots evaporated. 1 Siege Tank dies, but the Terran Army lives, and the Medevacs will put them back to 100%. And I think, with all that said and all that done, Storm may be completed, but not a single Templar in order to use it. +1 ground weapons, but barely any Zealots to take advantage. And Clem will grind his way through. Another army twice the size is headed across the map. The supply gap is nearly double. And MaxPax was unable to find that... Why is there a stalker here? How did you get here? It doesn't really matter now. Wait, the War Prism's still alive! 3 HP and 100 shields. But now some Whittle Mines joined in. The Bio Army, the Archons aren't enough. Clem, game 1. Decisive victory. But what an exchange. Back and forth early on. Beautifully done. All right. And Jimmy, we're going to try it out. All right. So letting you in behind the 4th wall for just a moment or two. We found here on the YouTubes that not showing the first minute or two of the game, which is usually the same, or similar. So a few little details that are very interesting and lost on most is the best practice. But a lot of people want to see the basic build, so I propose chrono boosting up until the first production facilities are done, instead of just, you know, skipping to it. So anyone who wants to see those build orders can take a look, and if they really want to, they could just slow down the video and maybe turn off the audio unless they want me to sound like my true form. And otherwise, we get closer to the action. As it is the nature. That is one thing that I really like about the Age of Empires games as well. Just a massive aside here. Parallel, but aside, is the less perfect maps. Now, this does create some imbalance, and there's a reason in StarCraft 2 we can't have randomized maps. And it's mostly Terran units, like Liberators and Siege Tanks, but I digress. I just think from a game design perspective, an RTS perspective, that is a very interesting aspect of the Age of Empires series specifically, because you don't always know what areas are going to be vulnerable. Like, you know where the Reaper can jump in. We have entire architectural philosophies designed to keep that Reaper out. But you don't know if there's going to be trees protecting your gold. You don't know if your villagers are going to be exposed to those early horsemen or reapers or what have you. But at the same time, which is all a way to say there's something kind of interesting to talk about Age of Empires early on. Like, how's the map look? Quite literally, you can't even see the whole map. You can't see anything when you're dead. Ask that adept. If you could, but not that it would say anything. Protoss don't have mouths. I'm digressing yet again. But because that gives you something a little bit extra to talk about, rather than here we are on the map we've seen 700 times in the last 2 weeks. Something like that, actually. But we don't mind. Burrowing, he's gonna do the shade. So, pro tip, on most screen resolutions, and yes, it is dependent on screen resolution, if you move into the Widowmine range when there's about 1 bar of health left on the timer, then you can actually draw out the Widowmine hit and dodge it. So, and this is an interesting quirk. The amount of health bar segments is not based on anything in particular. It changes with screen resolution. Like, it's a percentage of health and, like, general health bars. But if you're still playing on the same monitor you fought the Brood War originally on, which, like, I don't even know if you can play StarCraft 2 in, like, 800 by 600, you will have less health bar segments. So that's, but I think on most, like, 1080 and 1440 resolution, it's pretty similar, so. But all these tangents aside, because, well, MaxPax slaps down a Nexus as he guns down the medevac. Here we go again. Blink, finishing up. Not quite there yet. He'll be able to dodge the Widowmine. So what's happened? Clem has been completely shut down, like a blue screen computer that he's probably never experienced in his unadvanced age. But unlike last game, where Clem was able to kill probes, he was able to kill stalkers with the early pressure. MaxPax has lost now 2 adepts and a probe. So this blink pressure is going to be significantly better timed and have a lot more potential just because of the state of the game. Sometimes this is how it goes. Clem got slapped down. He tried something very similar, and MaxPax adapted. But this Liberator waiting in the corner for its moment is definitely a difference, but there's absolutely nothing in the main to defend. It's completely empty. The Marines are trickling in now. The Cyclone, the Liberator is sieging up, but I think MaxPax spotted. He has some Stalkers in position to defend. He'll sacrifice a couple in order to get the Liberator down. 1.5. Clem will clean up the main base, but MaxPax already has his 3rd online. He has the worker count, and he still has the Stalkers. There isn't the triple threat timing. The stim and the +1 just started. In fact, I think he killed that first engineering bay. Or he delayed it from finishing, something like that. He just killed 2 tanks. The game may just end. There's no bunker. Wait, there's nothing to stop these stalkers. Another tank is coming up, but there's an observer. He can see it on the high ground. Account for it. Probably see a single blink or just goes over to the side. And Clem is bleeding out. This is like a butterfly effect. Well, most of these games are butterfly effect, where you murder 1 or 2 adepts early, and it can change the entire game. As MaxPax's turns it around, and he strikes back, tying it up 1-1. Well, quite a game yet again, and MaxPax's able to capitalize. His blank stalkers either draw out the game or end it. Seems to be the trend as we go in. But this time around, MaxPax's able to find that early pressure and just carry it through all the way to the finish line. Relatively early probe scout. Gonna be annoying to the SCV. Another SCV. Hey, no touching! Now going to mildly inconvenience the SCV. They could build the command center slightly off to the side and lift it, but that's annoying. And it does delay you a bit. The Marine, he may have been able to kill the probe. I'm not sure if the probe actually spotted the Marine, but even if you kill the probe, showing the Marine means they can just send their first... They can just send it. There's no Reaper, because a Marine, and write this down, is not a Reaper. Subscribe for more top tips like that. So, but MaxPax's gonna have the Adept out of the way. He didn't Reaper well. Not that it ended up getting used against him in the last game, as he was able to get so much done early. First Adept shading away. Blink. Sorry, Twilight Council. It just, like, I see a Twilight Council, and that just looks like Blink to me. And at this stage, it's really not too surprising. Is that just 3 commands? Clem, he's Protoss. That's never stopped the Terrans from intense greed before. He's just going for a 3cc. All right then. What does he follow it up with? There's not going to be a starport nearly as early, so no threat of the medevacs. Adept is perfectly fine. 5 more HP than it needs. Warp gate completing, and the Cyclone. This is all defensive, but he has to make it look good. Showing the Cyclone, showing the Marines. He's making it look like your standard aggressive opener. But there's not going to be much of a follow-up. But if he ends up killing the Adept, like if he just... There's nothing stopping him from continuing across the map if he has the opportunity. That's Cyclone. Surprised MaxPax's didn't try to pick it up, but the boys are pulled. The Adept will, gets one. One for the road. And now, robotics facility, Blink, MaxPax's with quite a quick third of his own. Not nearly as quick as Clem with 3cc before. Well, he still doesn't have a starport. So, 3 barracks and then eventually building up. The starport will come around timed out with ideally stim and combat shield to do this big triple threat push. With the medevacs, with the basic bio upgrades. Ideally hitting before MaxPax's has anything but gateway tech online. That's what you're looking for. But MaxPax's, he sometimes doesn't need more than gateway tech. I mean, Blink, we're adding into that. But Observer. Siege tank will discourage further activities. But MaxPax's has never been stopped by that. That's a bit much. Delays the bunker. Makes it a matter of principle to do that when possible. Gets a lot of the stalkers bruised, but overall, well, it's pretty obvious where MaxPax's is thinking about heading, but he's going to spot the second tank. And very importantly, he's going to spot 2 tech labs, no starport, and a 3rd command center. So how do you react to that, MaxPax's? You now know exactly what you're dealing with. This mass bio play, but probably with enough to defend against the blink. He slaps down 5 more gateways. He's already got a robo. Notably, no robo bay. There goes the Observer. And any sort of inclinations towards fancy blink play will die with it, at least for now. Robo bay is the choice over a Templar Archives. He's gonna need splash damage. Clem is not a player who will die to just huge amounts of charge, at least the vast majority of the time. The mass charge lot or just mass gateway man styles. The worse your opponent is at multitasking and micro, the easier it is to claim a victory with it. But this is Clem, so you eventually will need something more than stalkers and zealots. No second robo, just a single one for now. Is that a warp prism to the north side? Indeed it is. Charge is about to complete. He's warping in. Small group of zealots in order to keep Clem at bay. That backstabbing prism, the only thing that can sometimes drag the Terran army back when it's moving out at an inconvenient time. And both players are very aware of that, so Clem has his Cyclone and some Marines looking to zone out the prism, just as MaxPax's looks to move in. Is there an Observer over this? No. Well, but he comes in from both sides, tries to evade the bio army, but gonna lose at least one. He doesn't have concussive shells, which I'm surprised he didn't start it immediately upon realizing. No concussive shells can add up over time. Becomes pretty obvious when you're chasing things down with the Marauders that you're not breaking the many fragile knees of the Protoss unit. Dark Shrine on the way. Still just 1 robotics facility. Getting +2 Protoss ground. And for the first time in this series, we're going to have actual 3 base activities. Both players have kind of attempted it in the previous games, but never really held on to it for long before the game just unceremoniously ended. But here comes Clem, thinking about it, moving out 153 to 140 supply, but MaxPax's has a whole lot of warp gates, so he can change that quickly. And warps in another round. Colossi on the way, extended thermal land's not done. Might be able to pick off one of those medevacs. Gets one. Now he's got to notice there's no blink star. I mean, concussive. But the warp prism just comes in towards the natural. Zealots on the 3rd base as well, just going for the mineral line. Prism is taken down. He salvages the bunker instead of repairing it. Well, I mean, I guess you get your 75% refund, 25% restocking fee. And since it's 100 minerals, we could have just said that, but it sounds more dramatic when you use percentages 100% of the time. That's a lot of Widow Mines underneath. This base is not going to happen. Not sure if he canceled it. The drop comes in. He blinks one. No, guys, this is bad. A recall, but nothing's... Clem's actually going to fight. He says this army's going to be too weak. And, well... he may have been right. Clem's now up 50 supply as MaxPax's is torn asunder. Clem just nailed this timing. And his units abusing that high ground... Oh my god, that's so much Terran. He's pretty much maxed out. Despite any losses, 13 probes dead. I don't see a reality where MaxPax's can turn the tide here. But I might just be hallucinating. Even the Cyclone comes across. A whole bunch of Zealots are warped in. MaxPax's, Clem. Whoa, 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 whoa. Clem just lost 40 supply in seconds. EMPs come through, but MaxPax's has managed to defend. Oh, well, I guess I need to know. Because at one moment, 192 192. The Widow Mines find some hits. He's getting a lot shaped. The reinforcements getting cut off by the Stalkers. And then he knocks down a full medevac. MaxPax's MacGyvering his way out of this one. That reference is definitely older than MaxPax's. It's older than me as well, but just saying. The Nexus dies, but MaxPax's cuts off reinforcements, knocks down the drops, and dismantles the push. And just like that. Wow! That's not supposed to happen. That wasn't in the script. The army supply gap completely cut down, and now MaxPax's has the lead. What an incredible fight. Or series of skirmishes across the board where MaxPax's did literally everything perfectly. And Clem, admittedly, some sloppy rally points, some ambitious drops. He took a lot of risks, and he came up empty on pretty much all of them. That doesn't mean MaxPax's is in pole position now. It just means he has a much greater chance of breaking even. Though those ghosts tanking a lot of the damage from the Colossi. They don't take bonus damage. They're not light units. Neither are they heavy. They're just right. More ghosts dying, though. The EMP is obviously helpful. Clem, 29 SCVs! 32! Zeratul in the main, in the third. 4 kills. I think the DT that got the most kills. Wow, both myself and Clem immensely distracted by the Dark Templar backstabs. And okay, now I'm confident. There's still a DT in the main. There's still a DT in the third. It is a disaster for Clem. An economic disaster that he may never financially recover from. There's still DTs. MaxPax's, with possibly the largest and most dramatic turnaround I've seen against Clem in... Oh, that was certainly not great, but no matter how the game ends, even though it's trending heavily towards MaxPax's, this has been, well, Clem demonstrating why Protoss can still be dangerous. This is why Protoss is many of the times so good on the ladder as well. One bad set of fights, and the momentum shifts so dramatically. Not to take away from MaxPax's holding on, it would have been well within his purview, well within his rights to GG. When he lost that 4th base, he lost so much momentum, but he held on, he looked for the fights, and he found them. And he fought it back, and now goes to match point, just like that. All right? Never stop fighting. Even Clem makes mistakes. And that brings us to Game 4 on Alcyone. Clem slipping from nearly 200 supply down to less than MaxPax's 140. And bringing us to a much more dramatic Game 4. And I think that is part of why... That is part of why Clem has a tendency to hit MaxPax's early. Because MaxPax's, despite the fragility of Protoss in the face of Ghosts, in the face of just the Terran efficiency, he just knows exactly what to do. He's not always able to do it, but clearly he has... He puts himself in the right spot to make that turnaround happen. And it pays off. A bunker? Is this what we're doing today? Alright. Clem with the casual in-between bunker rush here, where there's like a 25% chance the SCV is just in a spot that it can't get hit by probes. Using that early wall up against him. This is always an awkward exchange. Let's play Rig Around the Nexus. So, the shield battery, the Reaper no longer has its building grenades. It's much more annoying unit grenades. But in this scenario, the shield battery keeps other units alive. That bunker, well, so here we are. We've seen this before. He can dodge shots as well. Wait, the probe at the front. He's actually pulling SCVs to deal with it. 2 Reapers now. Another probe. Slaps down another shield battery. Oh, it loses. Loses the SCV. A lot of small but very impactful micro mistakes from Clem. I mean, losing the SCV is not the end of the world, but he probably could have kept it alive for another 20, 30 seconds and kept this Reaper push going. But he's not going to get the salvage. The probe lived and will spot the bear. It doesn't like it. It's like, I'm done with this world. I can't get... Come repair me, you bastards. If you laser tongue an SCV enough, maybe they'll decide to pat you right back on the back. All right, away she goes. Ain't rocket appliances. Well, Cyclone kills it instead. Another SCV. Well, that's the SCV that bore the brunt of it. So now, what are we doing now? Phoenix. In order to have a direct response to the Cyclones. There's Cloak Banshees on the way. Oh, this is going to be an interesting one. Stalker. Well, he's not going to be able to hide the Phoenixes much longer, so picks up the Reapers. They fly higher than they ever have, and then get knocked right back down. More Phoenixes on the way. No reason to stop now. Will he see the cloak being researched in time? That's going to be quite important. MaxPax gets in. He doesn't see the tech labbed starport. And what he doesn't know can very much hurt him. Yeah, Zombie Grub's like, oh, this one's over. Fair enough. True. It's a tough position. Though I would argue you usually want to stay till the end of the game, but who am I to judge? But this may very well be a GG Banshee. Oh, there's nothing. Oh, he's just... Yeah, this is bad. This is really bad. The Banshee was... And the cloak will activate. Oh my. He starts an Oracle. I guess there's a shield battery. But there's gonna be a second Banshee. He's flying... Oh, no, 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 no! He's trying to deal with the Banshees, so the Phoenixes. And, yeah. And remember, the push is coming. There are 6 Stalkers to deal with multiple tanks. He's got 2 tanks, 2 Cyclones, and a bunch of Marines to cover. Oh yeah, and another Cloak Banshee. And the only detection is temporary in the form of Revelation. So, Banshee at the front can cloak as well. 10 probes dead. Shield battery overcharge doing a lot of heavy lifting. Phoenix is doing even heavier lifting, but he guns down the Phoenixes. If he targets the Oracle, well, the Banshee was revelated. And, well, MaxPax again coming up with a very strong defense with such a thin amount of units. But will it be enough to actually hold this off entirely? He doesn't have much of an economy. There's 3 gateways and a Stargate. Yeah, probes are starting to get hit now. Picks up another tank. Gonna need more than that to deal with it. Gonna try to take down the tank before it drops. Gets another hit off on the Stalkers, though. The Zealots are dealt with. The Stalkers do not have blink. And I will say MaxPax made much more of a game of it than I thought. Again, he would have been well within his rights to GG when that Banshee came in with absolutely no answer. To MaxPax's credit, he fights it out and makes a very spirited defense. And now it appears he's going to be spirited away. As Clem already Yeah, even if he loses this army, it's a disaster. Like, Zombie Grub is right. Oracle, still intact. We'll find a couple SCV kills. Slaps one more on the way out. Widowmine in the mineral line. Maybe he could draw out some hits with it. And Clem. Well, that Oracle micro is perfect. And the game will go on. MaxPax's has successfully staved off Oblivion. Which is the first step to winning is not losing. I do try to avoid those moments where it's like, oh yeah, you should just GG right now. And after last game, MaxPax's has shown he can truly turn things around. But the thing is, he doesn't have Colossi. He doesn't have Blink. He doesn't have the tools, the levers you can pull, and at least have a shot to turn it around. It's more of a math problem right now. And Clem is going to have +1 infantry weapons. He has a whole lot of Terran knocking on the door, and MaxPax's doesn't have much of an answer. Force fields, I'm pretty sure, are helping the Terrans. Oh, the Widow Mines are actually the best unit for MaxPax's here. They slam into the Phoenixes and coat the Marines, but Clem clears the finish line and takes the victory. Tying it up. We're going to game 5. As these two battling it out yet again in another back and forth series. Where it truly comes down to that. Who's ever able to grind out the early damage? Neither player is letting the other sit back. But the Phoenixes were yay much from spotting the tech lab researching cloak, which would have at least given him enough time to build an Oracle before the Banshee came in. And certainly he wouldn't have built a Twilight over a rope. So if the Banshee doesn't kill 15 probes, but instead gets like 4, then the push, he can concentrate way more on it and have a better response, probably with a Robo. And then, who knows where it goes from there. But Clem gambled on the Banshee, and it paid off dramatically. And that means we're tied up at 2-2. Could go either way. Have no prediction at this point. It does have such a different feel than many other matchups. Terran versus Protoss. And these two really distill it down into the most profound parts. But so much momentum can be gained so quickly. Both sides have the ability to do critical damage in sometimes less than a second. And they're both very able to take advantage of that. And I think overall, more Terran than Protoss can really get that early damage done. But the Protoss army is not something you can sleep on either. Because you're out of position for one moment against the High Templar, against the Colossi, as we saw, even against the Blink Stalkers. And that moment loses you the game. Is he going to slap down? Oh, we're doing this. The Adept, no sir, we're closed. Gets the Twilight behind and shades away for dramatic effect. Two Reapers. And the Adept just waltzes right through the grenade. Reaper's slightly outranging. Adept taking a lot of damage. Definitely not expecting two Reapers to start. Clem. Feels like Clem like spins a roulette wheel. And it lands on 0 Reapers, 1 Reaper, 2 Reaper, Proxy Reaper, Red Reaper, Blue Reaper. And then occasionally Cyclones. Like, well, every time it's Cyclones. The question is, how you use the Cyclones, not whether you're using the Cyclones, as it is the early game staple. It is the unit that keeps you alive and, well, keeps the Protoss unalive, ideally, in the early game. Robotics facility and Blink on the way back to the baseline. Blink is... he's so good with the Blink Stalkers. Like, both these players have reached micro levels for many years in StarCraft 2. You could look at players who are like, that guy's really good, he practices really hard. But only with, like, MaxPax's and Clem, this level of play, does it really feel like, no. It's just, no matter how hard you practice, no matter how many hours you pretend to put in, it ain't happening. Like, they're talented and they work ridiculously hard. And it feels almost theoretically unequal. Mike, what are you doing? The drive-by. He does take a lot of damage on the medevac, but now gonna use the Reaper wall, but there's a double pylon behind it. Just gonna break through. And the Stalker's intercepting the reinforcements. Blink is done. Gonna be down to 2 gateways. He really doesn't want to lose the Cyber Core, though. That one's important. An Immortal! An Immortal's coming in. Blanc's on top. The Stalker's on the high ground. Moves one Stalker back. Knocks down the medevac with the Cyclone. And a big win for MaxPax's, but a siege tank right on top of the rocks will knock out another Stalker or 2. He lost 4 Stalkers, but he knocked out most of the early push. Now there's a Viking on the ground, could be a real threat to these units. Uses the barrier, trying to blast past. Viking a real danger here, but the grenade to bounce the Immortal, but he gets the tank on the high ground, and the Blink Stalker is going to be able to grind through the rest. Bunker's on the way. Feels like MaxPax's got the better end of that exchange, but he blunted it somewhat there. A Warp Prism. Dark Shrine on the way. There will be a bunker up. There's no bunker in the main. Second tank. Wait, no, that's the only tank. Important to note. Another tank pops out. There's a lot of space to work with in the main base. A Reaper survived throughout all this. Will now be put down by the Stalkers. He's working on Stim, and that tank is a couple pixels away. The SCVs will repair it in time. Dark Shrine. Shrine to Dark, always a good idea. A Robo Bay as well, as MaxPax's goes a couple different directions. A bit risky at this stage, considering that Clem is building up for that bio push. Clem doesn't even have a 3rd command center. So if MaxPax's can survive for the next, like, 3 minutes, which is a long time. But if he can survive the first push, he's in an incredible spot. But Clem is winding up for the triple threat, and MaxPax's will not have all this tech online. The Dark Templar are going to have to buy a whole lot of space. They've already effectively won one of the games in the series so far, but can he double that count? Single DT. Will Clem spot it before? He's in the natural. Already started a turret preemptively. Scan's good. He has another scan for the main. Should be able to save the tank. No! Oh, he's scanning the other tank, you traitor! The other tank blasted the Dark Templar. And his friendly siege tank was just... Why am I struggling so much? Anyways, he shot his other tank, killing the DT. We got there. Wow, that was a struggle. But MaxPax's, he forced out 2 scans and now has kept Clem bottled up a little bit longer. If you can get a couple Colossi with extended thermal lance, that would go a long way, puns intended, to holding this off. Meanwhile, fighting back with the Stalkers, trying to shave away what Marines he can without losing any Stalkers. MaxPax's has a supply lead, which is quite a rare sight at this stage of the game. But so far, and he's lining up. He's got just the charge lots here. Medevacs come back, and Clem is getting pushed off the map yet again. Oh, Medevac in the front of the map. The center. God, it's a rough one today. But these two are... The split-second decisions are taking me off guard. But they define this entire matchup, both the players and the races. Losing both those medevacs is a devastating blow to Clem's momentum. He was relying on having a strong 2-base timing. And now, oh, he hit his Widow Mines, but MaxPax is able to react before the second one connects. The Warp Prism badly bruised. Still could go either way. Extended Thermal Lance is about to be done. Clem, even though his push was shut down, he still has, of course, medevacs. He has plenty of bio. He's got upgrades. He's going to shut down the 4th base. There's no way he's dealing with it, but MaxPax, well, the best defense is a good offense. Closes in. There's no medevacs on the front line. The tanks are looking every which way. SCV's on hold position. And MaxPax is grinding his way through. 16 SCVs dead. Clem scrambling back to defend. And decides to go forward, but it's already too late. The medevacs. MaxPax almost takes it down. And that may have been the nail in the coffin there. But he still has one last chance to defend. A couple Vikings coming out. The Orbital managed to lift to the high ground. Marines in the main. Colossi a bit distracted. But the medevacs are being taken down. He tries to pick up. He tries to get out. And a few Marines. The Colossi still knocking on the door. Lancing through some of the outlying units. Takes down a medevac. MaxPax is up 40 supply. And he's just played a near-perfect series. Even the games he lost are... Well, I'm implying he's winning this one, but it looks very good for him. Who's flanking who? The Vikings. Force field on the ramp. Finally one that makes sense. He drops on top of MaxPax, claims the GG, and he takes the series 3-2. Even the games he lost were some of those knife edge, like barely missed one thing or kind of made a 50-50 choice and it didn't break his way. Clem definitely making some mistakes, but MaxPax put himself in the position. 90% of this is being in the right place at the right time, and the other 10% is taking advantage of that situation. And MaxPax certainly took advantage, and he claimed a well-earned 3-2 victory over the world champion, and proving once again why he's the most dramatic Protoss to be reckoned with. Well, hopefully it made your day just a little bit better. If you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Congratulations to MaxPax. Stay chill.